Our next innovation spotlight continues with a practical look at AI for real-world mining efficiency. Please join me in welcoming Tim Strong, the CEO of Waterline. Tim?
Thanks, Tammy. Afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity, Osmine. I think it's a great event that you actually hold and facilitate. So, probably just to answer a question, yes, we do water projects, but we also do other stuff as well. So yes, I'm Tim Strong, I'm the CEO. I've been with Waterline about 7 years. We just want to cover a couple of things around our approach to AI, and I guess really trying to make ourselves future fit, looking towards the future and what's going to be required. I really quite like the panel and the conversation that was had there where it was said, I need to write this down, overestimate the immediate benefit and underestimate the long-term impact. I really like that because that's really the approach that we've taken towards what we've tried to implement at Waterline and set ourselves up for the future. So there's a relatively smart guy called Bill Gates who said this some time ago. And from a visionary around the computer industry to actually say a comment like that, I think puts it into context for myself at least, and I hope a lot of other people, around the future opportunities around the AI industry and what the benefits could actually mean, not only for the METS industry, but for the wider community more broadly. So I just wanted to share a couple of things. Our journey, something that really helped us as in a maturity model, and then some of the things that we've actually put in place as well. So I think it was November 2022 that actually ChatGPT actually got launched. It was very early that next year. I've got a couple of colleagues here who'll probably remind me that we had AI as the next big thing. We need to be amongst it, we need to be onto it, we need to be considering it. It's a bit like throwing, chaff to the wind and hoping you actually get to feed your horses, because actually it didn't mean anything to anybody. It didn't actually make any sense. No one actually knew what it was. It wasn't really until we got the domain expertise, so someone from AI who knew AI and started educating our people around that, the engagement of it, having lunch and learns with people around it, but then also we had a maturity model actually looking at how we'd actually implement AI into a company or a professional services company like ourselves. But also we wanted to make sure that what we did was actually embedded in what we did every day. So it wasn't like a team that sat off to the side, you throw something over the fence to. It's how do we actually wind it through the DNA of how we're going to approach our work going into the future, really around making ourselves future fit. The other thing we did was actually said, right, how are we going to get all our data in the one space, in the one spot, so we actually have AI actually look at that in the future. So that was a program or a project we put together around a data lake. Then fast forward to 2025, 2026. So we've still got our AI champions embedded through the business. People come and go, but there's still a group of people that we call our AI champions. We've still got our AI maturity model, which we're slowly progressing through, and we're due for another assessment. What actually is really exciting for us at the moment, we've actually launched a product off the back of some of the AI stuff that we actually have been doing. And in the process, we've actually really disrupted some of the services that we've been providing to the mining industry for the last decade. So this is the AI maturity model. So happy to share, if you want to come and see me later or connect on LinkedIn, I'm happy to share what this actually matrix looks like. It was really breaking down the AI opportunity, the AI elements that really helped empower our people in terms of chunking it into what we could actually progress with it. One of our biggest learnings, I have to say, is AI is not a silver bullet. You're not going to boil the ocean, but you probably could boil a cup of tea. It just takes lots of cups of tea to boil the ocean. And that's really the approach that we've taken to this, is what do we need to be implementing that's quite simple to be beneficial to then move forward to the next piece. So this is what I mentioned around before, is this is a thing that we really disrupted ourselves for. So the current process, so a lot of the things that we would do is, being at an engineering consultancy, we would go to a site and help them clean up all their drawings and put it into a document management system. So previously you go to site, get a hard drive, bring it back to the office, you then give it a couple of juniors or people who didn't have work and say, righto, open the drawing, open the Excel spreadsheet, get the metadata out, enter in the spreadsheet and close it down. One of the projects that we did was for a major up in Queensland, so they had about 10 or 12,000 drawings. It took us about 8 or 10 months to do, as we had $120,000, $130,000 to actually complete it. We can actually do all of that with AI in a fraction of the time, with a fraction of the cost, with a lot more accuracy. So on the right, you'll see the AI solution, and you're probably thinking, that's just OCR. You're absolutely 100% correct. Where the AI comes in, it actually tells you how correct it is. So you'll see that the percentage of accuracy, AI can actually tell us how accurate the OCR is that we've actually sucked off that drawing automatically. So probably again to the panel, that discussion they had around the hallucination. How do we make sure they don't hallucinate and get the wrong answer? We actually use multiple models. So one of the first things that we discovered in doing this process was exactly that. How do you trust a model? How do you trust an individual model? So we came up with a term called ground truth, or our trust score. So what we actually do is overlay multiple models to look at the same information, and from that we can determine the actual accuracy of what that drawing is. So, and again to our panel, which was really quite beneficial, I think I didn't word them up at all, was around the human in the loop. So what we can find out is we can determine that about 80% of drawings that we process will be 100% accurate in terms of the metadata that we actually extract for them. The other 20% is the human in the loop, and that's what we need to make sure that we're still across. And we're building tools with the AI to help us be able to do that as well. So what we've got now is we've got a product. So we can actually look at a drawing, we can process a drawing, we can extract the metadata, and then we can actually upload that back to someone's document management system, a fraction of the time, a fraction of the cost, with a lot more accuracy than we could do with humans. One thing I also want to mention is around the domain expertise. The real benefit that we saw, and the real, I guess, the leg up around this for the domain expertise, was the domain expertise from the AI, and then domain expertise from engineering drawings. Actually overlaying the two is where the 1 + 1 = 4 actually came about. So it was the conjunction of those two items that really helped us land on what this solution would look like. And get probably to a point as well around the long-term impact. Shared a presentation, which was before we'd actually really launched the project, probably about 12 months ago. And I got challenged by someone. He said, why wouldn't you just offshore this? They can do it just as cheap offshore. We've actually got this point now that this week we're actually approached by a company who does actually do that, offshore all their drawings to get them offshore labour to actually extract the metadata and put it in an Excel spreadsheet and upload it. They actually approached us to be able to do it for them because we can do it quicker, more accurate, and cheaper than what they can do it on an offshore facility. So this is a bit of a case study, a lot of words, I appreciate that. So South Walker Creek, open cut mine up in Queensland, they do about 8 or 9 million ROM tonnes per annum. They've had 80,000 drawings and nearly 90,000 documents in the document management system. So we went through and actually cleaned that up. So first of all, we said, what's a drawing or not a drawing? So we did that. So we kicked out about half of it and got to about 40,000 drawings or thereabouts. We then threw and then processed all those drawings, and within a matter of weeks, those 44,000 drawings, originally they had only about a 23% chance of actually finding the drawing that they could actually wanted, based on the information and metadata they were looking for. Within a matter of weeks, we got that up to 92.7%. You're probably thinking, what's the 7%? The 7% is the drawing that doesn't make any sense. The 7% is the XREF. The 7% is a drawing with no title block at all. The 7% is the drawing that has a title that says plate or the actual site name in it as well. So with a findability report, we can actually go through to a site, to the document management system, extract it. We can tell them how good or bad the findability is at the moment to actually finding the actual drawing. And then with a matter of weeks, depending on the numbers, we can actually improve that substantially right across the board. So I guess we really see the AI as an AI journey. So we're talking about drawings at the moment, just 2D drawings, aging assets, and how they can actually be empowered. As I said before, you can't boil the ocean with AI, but you probably can boil a cup of tea. So we see AI as a layering in terms of adding additional functionality or additional ability as you go along. So you see that bit of a map there. So we've got AI empowered metadata. So we can actually do that right now. The functional location awareness. So we've already started to run some trials. We can actually start associating functional locations to those single drawings, to those 2D drawings. You can then go to your natural language searching for those drawings. You can then start adding your data sheets, your manuals, your fault finding into that layering as well. So you'd actually then have a natural language search on aging assets based off purely the 2D drawings that you have in your operation right now. It could be a CAD drawing, or it could be a handwritten drawing, hand-drawn drawing. It doesn't really matter, because the power of the AI is there to actually extract and be able to associate all that information. So imagine where it's possible to empower your frontline personnel with all the information they need at their fingertips. So we are one step in that process, and I think fortune favours the early adopters. I think future-proofing ourselves, not underestimating the long-term impact that AI is going to have for us, I think is really important, not only for ourselves, but as an industry, to make sure we're future-proofing ourselves. And I really like the application of, people say high-value centres, senior engineering offshore, to actually have that inquiry to actually come from offshore back into ourselves, or back into Australia, was really a telling point for us. If we adopt the right technology with the right process, with the right frameworks, we can actually make ourselves a lot more competitive and a lot more efficient going into the future. So a little bit about Waterline. That's a lot of our customers that we've serviced in probably the last 2 years, so quite a spread up and down the East Coast, but also spreading across to the West Coast. Our current footprint, so predominantly in Queensland, New South Wales, down to Victoria, spreading out into Northern Territory and WA. We're also doing a few projects overseas, so supporting some manufacturing out of Dubai, Batam over in Indonesia, and also some stuff for the Cocos Islands. Going the wrong way, sorry about that. So again, I think the importance is around the early adopters, not underestimating the long-term impact of AI, not underestimating that we really need to be approaching it different to a human. We need to be breaking it down into chunks that AI can actually address, but also looking forward to progressing what we can in the space that we have. As I said, I'm more than happy to share the AI maturity model that we had up before. I think that was really the empowerment moment for us, where we said, rather than let's just get everyone using AI to write their emails or write a letter for their daughter or for Valentine's Day for their wife, whatever that might be, I think there's an important thing there to how do you actually chunk it down so people can understand it, appreciate the ethics of it, and how they actually can apply it to their actually everyday life and their work. I think the concern that people have around replacing their job, it's not going to replace their job, but someone who can use AI is the people that are going to replace their job. Thank you.